Good afternoon and welcome. You're watching Lunchtime News on TV1. Bringing you the news, I'm Tharushi Kumar Singha. Let's take a look at your top stories this afternoon.
Advanced level and grade 5 scholarship examinations postponed. Will people above the age of 20 receive a booster shot?
නිසි මාර්ගෝපදේශ ලිඛිතව ඉදිරිපත් කරන තෙක් අපි ඉවසිල්ලෙන් ඉන්න ඕන.
2022 appropriation bill presented in Parliament. Wrong decisions result in harvest being fed to cattle. Protest staged on fields. JVP objects suppression of protesters.
මිටියක් විතරක් තියෙන මිනිහට හැමදේම පේන්නේ ඇණයක් විදියට කියලා.
Earthquake in Pakistan, 20 confirmed dead.
Top story this afternoon. State Minister of Education, Reforms, Open Universities and Distance Learning Promotion Susil Premajant has said that the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination and the GCE Advanced Level Examination cannot be held on the previously scheduled dates in the month of November.
Children sitting for the Advanced Level and Grade 5 Scholarship Examination must be prioritized when schools reopen. An amended syllabus must be presented to solve the issues in covering their syllabuses in time. Has the government focused on this matter? When will the government begin preparing these syllabuses and providing guidance to the teachers in this regard?
ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය විෂය ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ හඳුනා ගැනීම හා ගුරුවරුන්ට අවශ්‍ය මඟ පෙන්වීම ආරම්භ කරන්නේ කවදාද?
නොවැම්බර් මාසදී පැවැත්වීමට කලින් නියම කර තිබූ
The Grade 5 Scholarship Examination and the Advanced Level Examination that were scheduled to be held in November have been postponed to allow for the syllabuses to be covered and to grant enough time for students to prepare for their examinations. A definitive statement on this will be made soon after a discussion between the Ministry of Education and Examination Department. The Grade 5 Scholarship Examination was scheduled for the 14th of November and the Advanced Level Examination from the 15th of November, as we did not anticipate this lockdown to last this long. So as the lockdown continued for a prolonged time period and schools remain closed during this time period, the examinations will be rescheduled to give time for the syllabuses of these students to be covered and to give the students time to study.
ඒ වගේම විභාගයකට සූදානම් වීම සඳහා කාලයක් ලබා දීම අවශ්‍ය වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Will the Pfizer vaccine be given as the third dose for people over 20 years of age? During a media briefing held this morning, the Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemantha Herath, was questioned by the media regarding this.
වයස අවුරුදු 20ට වැඩි දෙනන සියලුම පුද්ගලයන්ට තුන්වන මාත්‍රාවක් නෙවත් බූස්ටර් මාත්‍රාවක් Pfizer එන්නත යොදාගෙන ලබා දෙන්නට යනවා කියලා මාධ්‍ය වාර්තා පළ වෙනවා. මේකට තාක්ෂණ කමිටුවේ අනුමැතිය ලැබුණ බව ප්‍රකාශ මේ කාරණේ සම්බන්ධව
මේකේ මූලික නිර්දේශය ලැබුණා.
The initial recommendation was made. The Director General of Health Services should issue a circular or written guidelines pertaining to this. We are talking about a large number of citizens here. So, as we receive the vaccines, it is important that we start with the high-risk groups and gradually move towards inoculating the others. Therefore, we need to patiently wait till written guidelines are issued. But we can confirm that such a decision was made.
මේ මොහොතේ අපිට එවැනි තීරණයක් ගත්ත බව අපිට සනාථ කරන්න පුළුවන්.
On to an update of a developing story that garnered the attention of many these days. The Samagi Jana Balawege requested the Bribery Commission to investigate and reveal the identities of politicians, state officials and businessmen who aided and abetted former Deputy Minister Nirupama Rajapaksa and her husband to amass wealth illegally.
A complaint filed by a group of MPs of the Samagi Jana Balawege states that the time period the wealth was amassed in, the taxes that were evaded and details on the money that was laundered must be made known to the general public. Recently, a finance bill was presented in Parliament that allows for black money to be laundered. At that time, we said that this act was brought to launder money for politicians. We have a suspicion as to if this finance act was brought to launder the money mentioned in the Pandora Papers in Sri Lanka. This is very dangerous. The issue that we have is who does this money belongs to? This is money earned by someone else that has come into their possession. Nirupama Rajapaksa is a close relative of the President and Prime Minister of this country. We are suspicious as to if this money mentioned in the Pandora Papers was illegally earned before the year 2015.
We know that through the 20th Amendment, the President stripped many powers of the Bribery Commission and vested it with himself. The President is now asking the Bribery Commission to investigate a close relative of the President. Will these investigations be fair? The Ceylon Teachers Union today accused the government medical officers of trying to stir confusion when a solution was proposed to the teachers' principal's salary anomaly issue.
We know that the Government Medical Officers Association have not issued a letter that hinders all efforts to solve this problem. According to this letter, if a labourer is getting a salary of 10,000 rupees, high-ranking officers must be paid 42,000 rupees. A rate of 4.2 must be maintained. In 2008, the Supreme Court, in their determination, stated that teachers must be taken out of the salary framework of the government and for their salary schemes to be formulated. Based on that, we made a number of proposals to the government to create a closed service and increase our salaries. The current government, in their policy statement, Vistas of Prosperity and Splendour, also stated that a closed service will be established for teachers. Even the Cabinet Subcommittee had stated that teachers and principals will be included in a closed service before the 20th of November. And this issue will be solved. We would like to inform the Government Medical Officers Association that this proposal to establish a closed service had been made as a solution to the issues in the general salary structure. A teacher who has 20 years of experience only gets 44,950 rupees as a starting salary for the first grade. Against such a backdrop, we do not approve of the actions of the Government Medical Officers Association in issuing media releases like this and making threats. We do not know if these factions are acting to further the agenda of the government.
As it was mentioned in your headlines, the JVP requested the government today not to support measures to suppress protests by professionals.
Trade union leaders have been demonized. If a police officer aims at a person's leg and shoots that person in the head, there is a court to determine the legality of that. What does the minister in charge of police have in that regard? What does he mean by that statement? He says that even if the police act in contravention of the law, he will support them. Who is he asking them to shoot? Protesters? What kind of protesters? Teachers. Why are the teachers protesting? Why is he asking them to shoot these teachers? Employees of the port are protesting against handing over a strategic plot of land to a Chinese company. Protests are being staged against the handing over of the Keravalapitia power plant to the Americans. Are you asking for these protesters to be shot? Employees of the Ports Authority and petroleum trade unions are protesting against the handing over of the West Container Terminal. Are you asking them to shoot these people? The Indian Foreign Secretary comes to Sri Lanka and posts pictures posing in front of the Trincomalee oil tanks like it's his own backyard. This is not like a picture you take opposite a flower garden. According to what people have been taught, the police and army are there to protect national assets. We would like to ask, where is the police and army now? Where are these ministers who have to protect the property of the people? What has happened today is that the government of the country wants to brand people who are standing against the government as betrayers of the nation, as traitors, extremists, terrorists and international conspirators. If we speak specifically about the Minister of Public Security, there is a saying that applies to him.
දේශද්‍රෝහී ලේබල් අලවන්න ත්‍රස්තවාදී ලේබල් අලවන්න. මොකද ඔගේ විශේෂත්වයෙන් විශේෂයෙන් මහජන ආරක්ෂක ඇමතිවරයා සම්බන්ධව ගත්තොත් අර කියමනක් තියෙනවනේ. මිටියක් විතරක් තියෙන මිනිහට හැමදාම පේන්නේ ඇණයක් විදියට කියලා.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Finance Basil Rajapaksa presented the 2022 appropriation bill in Parliament today. It also received cabinet approval recently. Allocations to the ministries for next year are to be made through the budget appropriation bill. More news from the Parliament this morning. Minister of Power Gamini Lokuge confirmed in Parliament that a grace period will be provided for the public to settle their electricity bills for the past few months. You know that during the course of the past 2 years, due to the ongoing pandemic, we all faced various issues when lockdowns were imposed. A lockdown was imposed during the previous 40 days as well. During this lockdown period, people have lost their means of income. There were multiple instances where the electricity supply of such households were disconnected. Taking into consideration the lockdowns that were imposed, can a grace period be provided to these people to pay their electricity bills that are due?
ඒ ගෙවල් වලට ගිහිල්ලා කොරෝනා වසංගතයත් එක්ක ඇති වෙලා තියෙන තත්ත්වයක් එක්ක මේ විසන්දි නොකර යම්කිසි කාල සීමාවක් ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන් ද උන්ට ඒ ගෙවීම් කරන්න
දැනට අපිට විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයට මේ මාස දෙකට
The Ceylon Electricity Board has to recover a sum of 47 billion rupees during the past 2 months. But as a principle, we've come to a decision that we will allow the general public to pay their outstanding payments within a course of 12 months, including the payment of these months. The circular announcing that scheme would have been drafted by now. If anyone has outstanding payments, they can divide the total amount due by 12 and then pay that amount as an installment during the period of 12 months. But they must pay their monthly electricity bill as well. We've arranged a scheme like that.
හැබැයි මාසේ විදුලි බිල ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම වැඩ පිළිවෙලක් දැන් සකස් කරලා තියෙනවා.
The fuel crisis in the country was also discussed in Parliament today. Let's take.
මිල වැඩි කරනවා කියන තමයි ඔබතුමාලගේ සූත්‍රය.
All your formulas do nothing but increase the price. Either it is milk powder or fuel. What was the pricing formula that your government came up with that benefited the public?
මිල සූත්‍රය මොකක්ද ඔබතුමාලා නිර්මාණය කළා තියෙන්නේ. යම් යම් භාණ්ඩ වෙළඳපොළ.
There might have been a shortage of several goods in the market. There may have been an increase of prices. There are two methodologies that are used to control the price of oil in the global market. One is the pricing formula and the other is the price stabilization fund. We identified that it is the price stabilization fund that is most suitable for a country like Sri Lanka. We submitted the cabinet paper only after examining how price formulas work in other countries. Since the Treasury was not in agreement with that, we decided to present it before the cabinet subcommittee to resolve the power crisis. The subcommittee held talks for about 5 months and approved it. They are to present the approval in writing to the cabinet next Monday.
පාත්තිසේ අනුකමිටුවේදී ඒක සාකච්ඡාවට ලක් වුණා විවිධ කාරණා සම්බන්ධයෙන්. ඒ දැන් අනුමත කරලා ලබන සඳුදා අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලයට පත්‍රිකාවක් ලෙස ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න නියමිතයි.
හරි. මම ඔබතුමාගේ අහන්න කැමතියි.
Yesterday you said 100 oil tanks were handed over to India under the Indo-Sri Lanka agreement. Are you going to implement the 13th amendment as well?
කිවිසුබ. මම අහනවා ධාතුගිනි ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනයත් ඒ අඩුව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවද?
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි කිරියල්ල ඇමතුමාගේ වයස නිසා මම අනුකම්පා කරනවා. එතුමාට හරියට ඇහිලා නැහැ. මම කිව්වේ 2000 සමාවන්න. ආගන්න දැන්. 2003 පෙබරවාරි මාසේ 7 වෙනිදා.
We took the action in accordance with the agreement their government signed on the 7th of February 2003. They were the ones who said that not all 100 tanks were given, only 13 were given, and we will get it back in 2023. I challenged MP Kabir Hashim to table that cabinet paper to Parliament.
ඔබතුමාට අභියෝගයක් කළා ඒ ගිවිසුම මේ සභාවට සභාගත කරන්න කියලා. කතානායකතුමනි දැන් කබීර් හෂීම්
ඔබතුමාගේ
කතානායකතුමනි මෙතුමාට හැමදාම මගේ වයස පේනවා මං ජනාධිපතිතුමාට මේ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මෙතුමාට බාලයි.
එතන පොයින්ට් එකක් නෑ මෙතන. බොහොම ස්තුතියි. බොහොම ස්තුතියි. බොහොම ස්තුතියි. අනේ චමින්ද්‍රී හිරිමන්තුමා තියනවලු එක.
තාපර ගරු කතානායකතුමනි ඊයේ දිනේදී විශාල වැදගත්.
Yesterday MP Chamra raised a very important point. The former Prime Minister who was involved in this was there in the Parliament. If he had said no, the ruling party would have been in trouble. If he said yes, his political career would have come to an end. Because he has failed to give a clear answer, this has become a problem at present.
එතුමාගේ දේශපාලන ඉවර නිසා එතුමා පැහැදිලි උත්තරයක් නොදීම තුල අදත් ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් ලකුණක්.
Unsound decisions have devastating repercussions. Farmers in Kundasale have no choice but to feed their hard-earned harvest to cattle. The question still remains, whose fault is this?
Kundasale, Aluambevela is a fertile paddy land. However, farmers in the area had not received fertilizer or pesticides on time. Their fields are now going to waste and their harvest is fed to cattle.
සේරම බෝල්ටි වෙලා බෙහෙත් පොහොර නැහැ. ඉතින් මේවට මොකක් හරි මේ සහනයක් අපිට සලසලා දෙන්න කියලා අපි කියන්නේ.
වෙලාවට අපිට රසායනික පොහොර ටික බෙහෙත් ටික මොකුල් ලැබුණේ නැහැ. ඒ දැන් අපි මේ හරක්ට දාලා තියෙන ඔක්කොම සේරම ටික. සත පහක්වත් අපිට දැන් ආදායමක් නැහැ. ජීවත් වෙන්නත් දෙන්න තින්නේ. ඒ වන්දි මුදලක්වත් ලබා දෙන්න කියලා තමයි කියන්න තියෙන්නේ.
The potatoes, tomatoes and carrot harvests of the farmers in Valleymadder were also much less than they expected. They planted potatoes, but the harvest they received barely resembled a healthy potato. These farmers have now given up on their cultivation.
ඉතින් මේ දිලිරනාශක නැති නිසා මගේ ඔලෝකව දැන් මේ විනාශ වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ බලන්නකො මේවා දැන් දිලිරනාශක නිසා බෙහෙත් නෑ දැන් ගහන්න බෙහෙත් මේ කඩවල නෑ.
මේක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මාස 3ක්වත් අපි මේ අල කොටුවක් නඩත්තු කරන්න ඕනේ. බෙහෙත් සහ කෘමිනාශක යොදලා අවශ්‍ය දිලිරනාශක වෙළඳ පොලෙත් අද මේවට හිගයක් තියෙනවා. සෑහෙන පවුඩක් ලබනවා අපි මේ වගේ ගොවිතැනකින් මේ මෙහෙම දෙයක් වුණාම ගොවිතැනක මේ බීජලයක් ඉන්දන්නේ අපි හරි සතුටින් ඉන්දන්නේ. නමුත් අස්සන් නෙලන්නේ කිට්ටුවට අපිට මේ වගේ දැකන හරි හිතේ දුකයි.
Authorities are ready to provide water for the Maha season. But what can be done with water when there is no fertilizer? This question was raised by 15 farmers' organizations in the Thamuttegama A division of the Mahaweli H zone in Anuradhapura. They staged a protest at a paddy field in Sidimapura today.
Water will be provided through the Mahaweli Authority for the cultivation of paddy on the 25th of this month. Farmers say that there is no time to use organic fertilizer anymore. Therefore, farmers are required.
Farmers are helpless. None of the farmers have sowed their fields. Only a very few fields have been sowed. We cannot continue our cultivations. The farmers are helpless.
Meanwhile, a group of farmers of the Alahara Farmers Movement staged a protest at the Alahara Junction today, demanding a solution to the fertilizer problem.
Leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, points out that the forest cover and wildlife in Sri Lanka must be protected to increase the income of the tourist sector in the country. The opposition leader made this statement at an event where 100,000 rupees was donated to the Yala Wildlife Welfare and Mutual Aid Society under the Green Project and the Project Leopard of the Samagi Jana Balawege.
The forest cover in Sri Lanka is reducing instead of increasing. Forests have been destroyed. Lands in highly sensitive ecosystems have been destroyed. The tourism sector in the country must be strengthened. The tourism sector brings one of the largest amounts of foreign revenue into the country. But the development of the tourism industry must be done in a more planned and sustainable manner. This must be done in a manner where forests in the country are not destroyed.
And up next is Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
Around 9:30 last night, a group of people were putting up banners at a funeral house in Ratnapura. A tense situation arose following the arrival of a group of people under the influence of alcohol. After some time, those under the influence of alcohol came back armed with swords. Within the next few minutes, 3 people were attacked with swords. A 34-year-old woman lost her life after being admitted to the hospital. 2 others are still receiving treatment. 4 suspects, including 2 who were directly involved in the incident, are in remand. The house of one of the suspects had been set on fire by an unidentified group yesterday. The magisterial inquiry will be conducted today. The Ratnapura police are conducting further investigations.
Crime Watch.
Now, for the first time in the history of Sri Lankan police, 3 female senior superintendents of police have been promoted to the rank of acting DIG with effect from today.
Female senior superintendents of police A.R. Jayasundara, N.D. Seniviratna and W.J. Padmini have been promoted to the post of acting DIG with effect from today. This is a historic moment for the Sri Lanka police. The Sri Lanka police will now be able to obtain the services of 4 female DIGs. The police department is being restructured in a manner where talented and dedicated female police officers can reach the level of Inspector General of Police in the future.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොලිසියේ නව ප්‍රතිසංවිධාන සැලසුම් සකස් වී තිබෙන බව විශේෂයෙන් සඳහන් කළ යුතුයි.
Making headlines from the international arena this afternoon, at least 20 people have been killed after an earthquake struck Pakistan's southwestern province, with teams attempting to clear debris. The news. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.